Greetings. My name is David Gross. My company is Mr. Monarch, and I'm going to be coming to your site in November to do your Monarch training. The purpose of this video is to give you some background and a little advanced class, a little pre-class information on data extraction, which is what Monarch does. Monarch takes data from text-based reports and puts that data into columns in a table. The first part of Monarch is the data extraction part, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. We have a tight time frame, so I wanted people to get some advanced knowledge before class starts. So I'm going to walk through two files of extracting data. Open up Monarch. Monarch opens up to a blank screen. Go ahead and click on File, Open Report, and it's going to give you a listing of reports that you have set aside. And we're going to open up the report Classic. Going to double click on Classic. And this is our Classic this report is a shipping report for a music distributor who ships to independent music stores. And this is a shipment report. So we want information out of this report into a table that we can then create our own reports from or do some filtering. First thing you do is kind of eyeball the report to see if it all lines up. And it does, which is great. Then we want to determine what we want to pull out. And when you first do your first extraction, your first template in the Monarch role, it's called a template, you want the lowest level of detail or a line item. You want a line item on the report. You don't want to grab in totals or subtotals. So we find a sample line here, this CD Bartók Sonata for solo violin. Click to the left of that line in that vertical bar there, right here, and that's going to pull in, that's going to highlight it. Click on your template window button, which is this button here. Click on that, and then go ahead and click on New, and it's going to open up a template window. First thing is, give it a name, and I use meaningful names, detail. Then we have two areas here. We have the trap line, which I'm highlighting in blue. Then we have the sample line, which is our data itself. You need to tell it what is consistent on every detail line or sample line, what character or character type is consistent in what column to say, if you find it in that row of data, grab that row. So we're going to do a test. I'm going to put my cursor in position 12 in the trap line. And if you look down at the lower right-hand corner, it's saying trap position 12. And then I'm going to click on the alpha trap. You have an alpha trap, numeric trap. This is these buttons here. Blank trap, non-blank, or numeric or. So I'm going to put in an alpha trap saying, if I find an alpha character or a character in position 12 on that row, grab that entire row. And it highlights it down in the screen, in the report view, which it does. Well, it's pulling in too much. See, it's pulling in this customer information, this account number, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to backspace out of that. Well, I also know that everybody has a shipment amount, a quantity. So I'm going to click above that, the lowest digit. When you're pulling in numbers, you pull in the lowest digit. I'm going to click above the lowest digit and put a numeric trap. And now it seems to find a numeric in all those positions, which is great. We found all the positions. We found that data. I'm scrolling through it. We got it. Terrific. Now I grab that row of data. However, we're still not done because we have to tell it from that row of data what fields we want. So I'm going to highlight in the sample line the CD, about 4 characters, right-click on it, and call it media. Then I'm going to highlight a couple characters for the quantity and call it quantity. I'll call it QTY, and it's pulling it in as numeric. Then I'm going to highlight the description over about that far. Right-click on it or double-click. Oh, I noticed that this is pulling this over. My bad. I'm going to call it description. Description. My bad. Those other ones weren't there, but I'm going to get the rest of them. Then I'm going to highlight the label and right-click on it and call it label. This is what the window would look like in those previous ones. And I'm going to highlight out to about here for the unit price and call it unit price. And then I'm going to highlight the extended amount. I'm going to highlight from about here over 1 because this report happens to use parentheses for negatives. So I'm going to call that TXT amount. Looks good. I think that's all of it. But if you're working with a large set of data, you may not have time to go through the entire report to find out if you've made your fields wide enough. It has its own system for checking that, and that's this red check mark button here. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to go through the report and find some areas where it doesn't fit, and it highlights the area that doesn't fit, that's not wide enough. I'm going to click on the plus sign, then click on continue. There's another one. Click on the plus sign, click on continue. It's going to find a bunch, and then this is a non-blank to the left. I'm going to click on the plus sign, click on continue, and this is finding one more. Click on the plus sign, click on continue, and it's finding another one. Plus sign, continue, and start over. It found it. It did it. You'll notice this white bar in the sample line. You cannot overlap fields, so don't worry about that. So we're done. We have it. Let's see if it worked. Go ahead and click OK in your template window. Then go ahead and click on your table window button, which is right here. Bada boom, bada bing. There's your data. Don't worry, we'll correct this media in class. Don't worry about that. There's your data. Now you have a table of data. We build a template which feeds into a model. We have to save the model file. Click on the single diskette, and I'm going to call this Apache. I've done a couple already as a test. We'll call this Apache second test. There's our model. I'm going to go back to the report window, which is the green bar button. Click on that. And then I'm going to click on File, Close All. So you've done it. You've done your hard work. Next month's shipment report comes out. You want to see that data. Click on File, Open Report, and you open up your new version of Classic, whatever the report name is, and click on File, Open Model, and we had Apache second test. Double click on that. You see how it highlights the data? Click on your table window button right there. There's your data. Now you can filter it by pulling out specific fields based upon whatever criteria you have. You can create new fields. You cannot edit these fields, but you can create new fields. Let's say you want to raise the prices 12%. You can see what that does, this, that, and the other. So we're done with that one. Very good. I'm going to click on File, Close All, because you have two files open, the report file and the model file. We're going to do another file. And that's why I'll show you, now I'll show you a shortcut that we're going to use from now on in capturing some data. Click on File, Open Report, and we're going to open up Client. So double click on Client, and we look at this report to see if it all lines up, the data lines up. It's a report for a law firm showing per attorney the date of service, their billing amount, their billing rate, how many hours they billed, a brief description, and a reference number. All looks the same, and there's no grand totals. Great. So our sample line would be any of these. I usually pick the first one. It's just easier to look at that way. So click to the left of it. There's your template window button there, that little semi-grid. Click on that. Click on New. And I'm going to call this Detail. Because you can have reports with multiple templates. You can have what's called append templates to pull in more data. And we will cover that in class. Now to trap this, there's a couple different ways we can trap this. In this particular report, there's probably 3 different traps you could use. The first trap could be a numeric trap above that 0, that last digit in the hours, because everybody has hours. I can put a single N there, numeric trap there, and that'll pull in that data. That's one way to do it. But I want to introduce you to a different trap. I'm going to backspace out of that. Also, you can do what's called a literal trap, a specific character or number, or special character. Everybody's got a build amount. So I'm going to go above the period in the 36 and put a period above that period. So that's saying it goes down the page. It says if you find a period in that exact position, that column position, grab that row of data. It does it. I scroll through the report to see if it all looks good. It all looks good. This is a small report. Looks good. Now I have to grab and name my fields. I told you I'd show you a shortcut. I'll show you the shortcut which we're going to use in class. We're going to do a couple times where you're going to have to grab data, but most of the time we'll do the shortcut. You'll have a button that looks similar to this. It's called Auto-Define Fields. You're using 9.0. This is version 10.5, so the buttons look a little different. Auto-Define Field says, I think I know the data you want. So I'm going to click on it, and it does. It highlights the data, and it highlights it the exact width I need. Then you go through, just like we did before, you right-click or double-click on each one in the sample line and name it. And I'm showing you the full window here. I apologize for the previous one where it pulled the window to the left. That had to be frustrating. Then I'll right-click on that, call this ID. Right-click on this, name it hours. I keep saying call it because I'm used to teaching in front of people. We'll name this one rate. And we'll name this one build amount. Now, I don't need description of service, so I'm going to click in the sample line and tap delete on the keyboard. And then last is the reference field. I'm going to right-click on that, call it reference. And changing that from numeric to character. Click OK. I'm going to go ahead and do my verify fields just in case. Go ahead and do it. Comes through clean. There's our data. Go ahead, click OK. And we have our data here. Looks good. I'm going to go ahead and click on the table window button. There's our data. Date of service, hours ID, the whole thing. Now we can filter it. We can do subtotals per attorney. We can figure out how much they've billed out for that particular period. We do a lot of stuff. I want to save this model to reapply it next month or next week. I don't want to have to build it again. Go ahead, click on your Save Model button, and we're going to call this Apache Third Test. I have a lot of Apache files in here. Go back to the report. You don't have to be in the report to close it. Click on File, Close All. Come back next week for the building report. Open the report. File, Open Report. Open up Client, which is new data. Say, well, I got to pull that data out and review it and print it. Click on File, Open Model. Apache Third Test. Double click on that. Highlights the data. Click on your table window button. Bada boom, bada bing. There's your data. That's data extraction. We're going to cover it 2 or 3 times in the beginning of the class. You're going to go through it. You're going to eventually do at least 1 or 2 on your own. Then we're going to move into more advanced topics of Monarch. I jumped right in. I didn't give you too much of an explanation. I just wanted to jump in and get you to do it. I started, it looks like 15 minutes ago. What I recommend is viewing this video a second time. You can view it as often as you want, but view it at least once or twice. I purposely made it as clean as I could. There's other material to explain, but I wanted it as brief as possible. We're going to be covering a lot of material in the class. If you review this a couple times, at least twice, we'll get a good jump on the day, and we'll be able to cover all the material we need to cover. You'll also have my email and telephone number. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me, and we'll go from there. Again, this is David Gross from Mr. Monarch. Have a great day.